Hi, I'm Lisa. Welcome to my channel. This is my random recipes. These are desserts. Yes, I'm still working my way through the cakes. And yes, today is red velvet cake number 2. Last week I did red velvet cake number 1 and it didn't go completely as planned. I made cupcakes, which was fine. They were more pink than red, as I had a hard time finding red food coloring. They were a little overdone, and I ran short on frosting. It was just kind of a comedy of errors. Today I'll be making red velvet cake number 2. I will be making cupcakes once again. I did find some red food coloring. In fact, I'm wearing some of the red because I had to remove the inner seal. This time I will try to bake them maybe a minute or two less, just hopefully they won't burn. And rather than piping my frosting on the cupcakes, I think I'm just going to go ahead and use a knife. That way, hopefully I won't run short on frosting this time. There is one added bonus for this recipe. It has a little bit of chocolate in it, so for me, that's always a good choice. I'm somewhat encouraged by this recipe. I get to learn from my mistakes, and I get to work on honing my skills. All right, let's get to work. We're going to begin with creaming our shortening and our sugar. I'll turn this down so you get to see what I'm doing. So we are starting off with a half a cup of shortening. Next we have sugar. This is 1.5 cups of sugar. Okay, 2 eggs. Go ahead and drop those in there. And then next we have a tablespoon of cocoa powder, a teaspoon of salt, and we have a teaspoon of vanilla. So I'm going to start mixing. Let's cream these together. So I'm not sure if that's red enough, but I think we're going to call that good. It's to me it looks pretty pinkish, but I think we'll call it good. I put 60 drops in there, so I counted as I went. So hopefully that's enough. It says for 2 ounces of liquid food coloring, and since this is gel, I don't really know what the conversion would be. So we're going to call that good. Okay, so we have a cup of buttermilk, and we have our batter. Now they're supposed to add the flour to the cake batter. We're going to go the other way today. So I'm going to get my mixer going again here in just a sec. Go slowly. I don't want a big old poof. And we're going to add some liquid. This is buttermilk. 1 cup of buttermilk. Let's get some more of this stuff. A little more buttermilk. I'm still not completely happy with the level of the redness, so I think I am going to add more food coloring. But first, before I do that, I have to do one other thing. So this is baking soda, and this is vinegar. And in a small bowl, I am supposed to mix the two together. So of course we're going to get a chemical reaction here. So that was a teaspoon and a half of baking soda and a teaspoon and a half of vinegar. And I'm going to add more of my red food coloring to this. I think this would be the good place to go. And I'm just going to go crazy and add a whole bunch. That's definitely red. That's red. That's pink. I'm even going to go more because once I add it to that, it's going to dilute it. That is like red. So I'm going to hope that that's enough. I'm going to put that in here. I've got red all over my hands and batter all over my mixer. But let's go for it. Let's make it, see if we can make this red. Scrape this down a little bit. Oh no, there's a little bit more. Use the whole bottle. And if it isn't red enough now, there's nothing I can do about it. I think we're going to have to call that good. It's as red as I can get it. I'm going to fill my cupcakes. I'm using green papers this week. Last week I used blue. So we have 24, hopefully red velvet cakes, cupcakes. They're going to go into a 350-degree oven. The previous recipe was said 16 to 19 minutes. I'm going to shoot for 15 minutes just to kind of make sure they don't burn. And then I also put foil on the rack in my oven, so hopefully it'll keep the bottoms from burning. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this, and when they're done, I'll come back. Okay, I'm back. Everything is done. So the cupcakes are done. They're out of the oven. They're out of the muffin pans. I'm ready to make my frosting, so we'll do that, and then we'll frost some cupcakes. So we have an 8-ounce block of cream cheese. To that, we are going to begin slowly adding 2 cups of powdered sugar. And we're going to start adding our powdered sugar a little at a time. More. And some more. And the last of it. Get it all in there. And now we're going to add 1/4 of a cup of melted butter. I had to let it cool a little bit. That will give us the moisture that we need. Make the frosting soft. And so we have flavor. This is 2 teaspoons of my vanilla. This is the Mexican vanilla. It says it doesn't have any color to it. That is good. So we're going to start frosting some cupcakes. I did 3 plates of 8. So I'll get my little old school spatula, and I'm going to do these with my spatula so that I can hopefully not run out of frosting. I might even have extra frosting this time. Amazing what a difference that makes, huh? Piping does use a lot. Let's say that's about done. I'm going to get out my cupcakes from last week. I froze a couple of them so we can do a comparison. These have blue papers and are a little bit burnt. These have green papers, are not burnt. Spread with a knife, piping. We can tell them apart. I'll just dig into this guy. I would say that they are indeed red, but it did take 1 full bottle, and I looked, it is not exactly a half an ounce, it is 0.61 hundredths of an ounce. A little more than half, but not enormously more. All right, here we go. I would say that is red, but it did take a lot of food coloring to get red. It isn't a strong chocolate flavor, just kind of a hint of it. The cream cheese frosting is good. I think these turned out better. I said they're not burnt on the bottom, which is, I appreciate that. They definitely turned out red. Cream cheese frosting is good. I don't see a problem with them. Let's try one of my slightly still frozen ones on comparison. This is definitely a lot more red than this. A lot more pink. See, it's not horribly burnt, just a little bit on the bottom. Put foil on the oven rack in my oven and check them I swept them at 10 minutes. Check them at 15 minutes. They were still not done, so I did the toothpick test. So then I went that 2 more minutes, and so at 17 minutes they were done, but that was with having the foil to protect the bottom. So I think that was a good choice. As far as flavor, not a huge difference. I don't get a strong chocolate flavor from it. I mean, it only had 1 tablespoon. I mean, it is good. I like this one better. Maybe it's because it's fresher. I have no complaints with either of them, other than I say that I burnt those a little bit. That's on me, though. That's not the recipe. It does seem a little unfair to compare 2 different recipes when they weren't made side by side. Plus, I got to learn from my mistakes from the first one before I went to the second one. At least I did learn from my mistakes a little bit, at least hopefully some. But to be fair, the only red velvet cake I'd ever eaten before was out of a box. I suppose there's a bit of a learning curve when venturing into the realm of scratch baking. Next time I'll be making a recipe for a cake that's from Central America. Please come back for that. I'll include the ingredients and the preparation for red velvet cake number 2 and the cream cheese frosting in the description below. If you have any questions or other feedback for me, please feel free to reach out to me in the comments. I really do love hearing from you. How about dropping into the comments? Let me know where you're watching from. I'd love to find out how far reaching my audience is. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate that. Thanks for joining me on my journey through the desserts and through the cakes. I look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye.